Our Wounds. This immersive listening experience is brought to you by the Fouraltars, the latest book written by Alonsodelrio. While it is true that a certain degree of suffering comes from material situations such as being hungry, thirsty, cold, or experiencing physical illness and pain, the lion's share of suffering for most humans comes from their own emotions. Emotional wounds begin to appear in our infancy and continue to appear for the rest of our lives. They are memories of situations in which we have been attacked, offended, unappreciated, humiliated. These wounds become part of our emotional body. The fact is that we were produced by events which created very deep and painful emotions that led us to have thoughts of hatred, resentment, selfishness, revenge, abandonment, self-pity, sadness, hopelessness, despair, or frustration, amongst others. In fact, they are real and tangible sufferings, but it is good to understand that the causes are not exactly what we imagine them to be. Throughout our lives, the actors and factors change, but the ones keep growing and feeding off similar situations that reinforce our patterns of suffering. Each new event that resembles, even faintly, one of the events in our archives of pain stimulates a negative thought that drags our thinking into an ever-shortening sequence of associations until it finally disappears into the black hole of our microcosm that is our small ocean of suffering. Once there, each human being is free to suffer and enjoy in his or her own way and decide how long they want to stay swimming in that sea. It is ironic that when one is totally identified with their pain, they don't realize how addictive their patterns of suffering are. It can really seem that they even enjoy generating these thoughts of hatred or self-pity. Moreover, our sense of alienation can reach such a point that we identify with it completely. We invest our entire identity in it, just as a conceited person puts their identity in their material possessions. In the same way, we're not able to distinguish between ourself and our drama. On the other hand, pain is something that happens once, and we are in charge of reproducing it infinitely, not allowing the wound to heal and fade away. We even go as far as to hypocritically enjoy the status or importance it can give to our unfortunate life, or that our unfortunate life gives to us. It works as a compensation mechanism. If we cannot stand out as the happiest of the happy people, then we will do our best to be the unhappiest of the unhappy. This is almost a caricature of how far our disease can take us without us even realizing it. This is not simply a result of our traumatic experiences, but our minds have become infected, and over time, the sickness has gotten worse. Something similar happens to people who have addictions, who learn to enjoy their self-destruction. At whatever point each person finds themselves in relation to the awareness of their patterns of suffering, they must understand that the time to stop is now. To continue to feed the patterns only continues the cycle of slavery. It is imperative that we learn to minimize the negative impact that each action or word causes on our emotions and stop taking everything personally. Let's say this again. It is imperative that we learn to minimize the negative impact that each action or word causes on our emotions and stop taking everything personally. Only then we can free ourselves from these intoxicating states. As we said before, it is common knowledge that our thoughts generate emotions, and these emotions cause our brains to release either beneficial or detrimental substances into our bloodstream, and that for better or worse, these substances create altered emotional states. The nature and intensity of the emotion determines the quantity and the quality of the substance produced. In this way, we create truly pathological states that can lead us to commit abuse, injustice, and even crimes, motivated by emotions such as anger, envy, resentment, jealousy, and rage. This is not the worst of it. Unfortunately, these substances create very strong physical and psychological addictions against which we must fight long and hard if we ever hope to free ourselves from them. We can easily observe in others and in ourselves the tendency to verbally attack and unload negative states onto other people, often looking for some kind of justification. I've known many people that couldn't go more than a few days without becoming angry and attacking those that happen to be around them. Although this can happen to all of us sometimes, the frequency with which it occurs is a good indicator to help us determine the degree of our dependence on negative emotions. The neurotoxins they produce turn many people into addicts, to the point that they can no longer conceive of living life without these emotional outbursts. We can measure our true level of consciousness with the following questions. How often do I need to express negative emotional states? And how long can I go without speaking badly of someone or something? I know it can be very hard to recognize ourselves as being ill and addicted to negative emotions, but if we do not observe this and accept it, then we will never overcome this condition. I suspect that some of these substances, which create physiological addictions that cause tremendous anxiety and stress at the peak moments of abstinence, when the negative emotion is recreated once again and the poison is released into the bloodstream, also create a sensation of pleasure that is equal to that of consuming heroin or some other heavy drug. People exhibit a need to fight and discharge their emotional waste, and the regularity of this act is a consequence of their level of consciousness. Negative emotions create a cycle of physiological need, almost equal to the need to defecate. The only difference is that the emotions usually tend to defecate disproportionately and in public places. So what are your wants? Look within and try to acknowledge them. That is the first step to healing and living a truly fulfilling life.